28 megacities worldwide and counting. They attract people for their prosperity, security and jobs, a promise of heaven on earth for many. What challenges are megacities facing? What those constitute a smart city? In what areas will megacities need to excel in order to cope with their ever-growing population? Which investment themes are attractive for investors as a consequence? Learn more about megacities in the latest webcast with Reto Ringger, founder and CEO of Globalance Bank, as he is interviewed by Kiki Maeder.
Dear Mr. Ringger, you just came back from Mexico City. There you were at an international conference which was about the challenges of these rapidly growing megacities and about investment opportunities around this topic. What impressions do you bring back home?
It was very interesting on one side, but it was also a bit cumbersome because of the traffic in Mexico City. But nevertheless, Mexico is the largest city outside Asia. It's the 6th largest of the world, 22 million people living there. And of course, it has all the challenges that those big megacities do have. People are very optimistic about their future there. They have just announced to build one of the largest airports in Latin America in about 10 years with Norman Foster. So the city is really growing.
Mexico City is only one example of the growth of these megacities. Can these cities just grow so fast, or isn't this connected with major problems such as pollution or mobility?
Yeah, the megacities, they do have huge challenges. What you can see in the megacities is really all the global challenges that we as mankind do face. Transportation, the environment, clean air is really focused in a megacity in a very concentrated way. We can see that in this overview here. So the megacities account for only 2% of the space, but they consume 75% of the global resources. They produce 80% of the global GDP, and they also consume 80% of the carbon footprint. So we see they have a huge footprint in all aspects. So 40 years ago, there were only 3 megacities, New York, Mexico, and Tokyo. As per today, we have 28, still growing very fast. But for people moving to those cities, they stand for wealth, for jobs, for development. And that's why they have such a pull effect to many people living on the countryside.
In this context, the term smart cities often comes up. What exactly does it mean?
Such a big city, they face the challenge. They have huge population growth, and they have to manage all the aspects of the growth of transportation, infrastructure, water supply, in a way that the city can grow in a sustainable manner, and in a way that people in the city feel happy and have a good development. So they have to develop smart concepts in order to achieve that objective. There are many examples of such cities. We can see here one comparison between Barcelona and Atlanta. So on the left side, there is the city of Atlanta in the United States, and on the right side is Barcelona. They have comparable population of 5.3 million, but we see that Atlanta has a huge space they cover, 4,300 kilometers, whereas Barcelona only has about 160 kilometers for the same population. So Barcelona is much more efficient than Atlanta. And the cities, the megacities in Asia, they will not be able to implement a concept like Atlanta because they don't have the space, the resources. They have to copy concept like a city from Barcelona as an example.
And what can these cities do to become more efficient and to get a better footprint?
Those cities are huge hubs of consumption, so they have to make sure that the consumption of products, of services, of transportation is being done in an efficient way. And today we have the situation that the consumption, there's a massive shift from west to east, from United States, from Europe to India to China. So what we can see is that in 2000, the Chinese and the Indian middle class only were consuming about 3% of the global consumption. In about 10 years, 2025, they will account for 1/3. And in 2050, about 50% of global consumption will be consumed by India and China. And what is also interesting is that Europe and the United States, they were at 60% in 2000. Their consumption on a relative basis will go down to 10%. So there's a big shift from consuming from Europe and US to China. So how do they do that? I mean, they have to be more efficient, and we can take one example of transportation, because they will not be able to copy the model from Atlanta. They have to develop a different concept. We can see that in this overview. What we see is the global landscape with the amount of cars in each region, and also in 40 years, in 2050, there will be more cars in US and in Europe than in India and China, even though the big megacities are in India and China. So what does that mean? They have a completely different system how they deal with the whole issue of transportation, mobility. So we see that in those cities, public transportation, carpooling, car sharing, those are models that become more important for them. And on a relative basis, the car producers will probably be losers, and the companies that offer carpooling, sharing, and new models will be winners in those cities.
Now, when listening to you, it seems that the future will happen almost exclusively in these large cities. Does that mean for the investors that they should invest more in there and less in Europe?
I mean, the future is in the megacities. That's a strong trend, and they have a lot of opportunities for investors, but they also have challenges. But what will happen is also there will be a lot of innovation in the cities. Take urban farming as an example. That's a concept that was developed in a city for cities. So they produce natural food in the cities, on the rooftops, on areas in the city, and sell it in the city. So that's an innovation that came out of a city. But there are other areas which are interesting from an investment perspective. One area is smart energy, smart water, smart transportation, but also smart building. And it is expected that about the growth rate of those four areas will be between 13 and 15% in the next couple of years. This is very high compared to other industries. So those are interesting areas to invest in the trend of megacities.
Now, what should one be aware of if he or she wants to invest in this interesting topic of these megacities, and where exactly should they invest?
I mean, this is a mega trend which is non-reversible. So it has started and it continues, as we have seen. And as always, it is important to diversify. We have seen the 4 clusters. That's a good diversification. It's also interesting that a lot of large companies do benefit from those trends. One company that we are following is MRT. That is the mass transportation company in Hong Kong. They are very successful. They have find a way how to transport people with a very low carbon footprint, and they export that now to cities like Stockholm, so they benefit from their knowledge. And to invest in such kind of companies can be very interesting. To sum it up, I would say there's a big trend to invest and to benefit from the development of the megacities. There are clusters that are interesting to invest, and we at Globalance Bank, we invest in those topics in our portfolios. But as first bank on the world, we also analyze the footprint of those investments as well.
Thank you very much for this interesting conversation, Mr. Ringger. We're curious what the future will bring with these mega cities. Dear viewers, if you have any further questions about this interesting topic or about the investment possibilities around the topic of these mega cities, please contact directly the Globalance Bank on this address you see here below. And furthermore, we wish you a lot of success and joy in investing and a Merry Advent.